Very good. This is the Soul Training recording.
Okay, Daniel. We're missing one of our guys.
Yes, we are.
Alan, and we love Alan, and we miss him, and it feels weird without him.
Right.
But once again, we've done this, I think, a time or two. When Alan's not here, we bring in a guest, and it wasn't necessarily planned that way. He's not a substitute.
There's no substitute for Alan.
There's no substitute for Alan.
He does have a beard, though, like Alan.
He does. And so the guy that we're bringing in, I'll introduce in just a second. But I had Alan to be here with us in thought, I suppose. And so I said, hey, Alan, since you're not going to be here, I want you to write down your intro and give it to me in a sealed envelope. I think I said type it. And so what I got was a letter that was folded and handwritten that I had to put in a sealed envelope so I wouldn't read it. But anyhow, I've got it right here. I'm going to open this, and let's hope I can read Alan's
This
intro.
feels a little dangerous.
It could be his resignation. I don't know.
I'm glad we're not doing this live. We can edit this later if we need to.
Yeah, right. So, to the big show, for the big show, yours truly. Your friend Alan is what he wrote on the outside.
I love it. It's not typed, but it's written neatly.
Neatly?
Well, it's written.
It's written. Soul Training. Greetings. I miss you guys.
We miss you too.
I hope and pray you will have a great episode. I thought that said plate, but it says episode. Mr. Hatfield's a legend and does great work. Today's intro is based on your...
I got to put on my glasses for this. We got like dead air.
Today's
right
intro is based on your location, the home of country music, my favorite place. And then he says, what does WSM stand for? Does anybody know?
WSM.
Do you know what WSM is? I bet Robert does. Do you know it?
Radio station?
I have no idea what WSM stands for.
Oh, it's an old radio station the opera used to be on.
I know that.
Yeah, like forever. WSM 650. And actually, I think they broadcast out of this building that I haven't mentioned yet. We're at Opryland Hotel in Nashville, Tennessee. It's our first location recording. 5 years.
That's cool, yeah.
Okay, so back to Alan's intro. This is the radio station that has covered the Grand Ole Opry. Also, please give insight to this. What are 5 practical ways to make our young people more evangelistic? Love y'all. Well, thank you very much, Alan. I especially thank you for typing that up for me so I could read it seamlessly. So that's the topic today. We're going to be talking about how we can, encourage our kids, how we can teach our kids, why we teach our kids Christianity. But before we do that, we need to introduce Robert. We have our guest, Robert, the Robert Hatfield.
I'm a Robert Hatfield at best.
Who is of the Light Network, amongst other things. So, Robert, I hate to do this, but I'm going to do it. Would you mind just to introduce yourself to, we call our listeners, dear listeners and the people. So, to the people.
Who? Okay. So you don't, it's not, that's the same group of people.
It's the same group, yeah.
I thought you had your dear listeners and you had the people.
Well, it started out dear listeners.
I was nervous.
And then I saw
They're all dear.
Okay.
the insurance commercials that we won't mention, and they became the people.
Okay.
So if you can introduce yourself, I'd appreciate it.
Hello to the people. My name is Robert Hatfield. I am the husband to the Emily Hatfield.
Oh, yeah.
She's the star of the show. We started, and we have 2 kiddos, and they're great. We started the Light Network in 2013, and at the first of this year, it was the honor of all honors to bring Soul Training onto the network, and we are so thrilled that you guys are here.
We're happy to be here. Yeah.
When I'm not behind a podcasting microphone, I am getting to minister at the Henderson, Tennessee Church of Christ, right across the street from Freed-Hardeman University. Woo woo! And we go Lions. And yeah, that's sort of me.
Very good.
I'm honored to be here. I should say that. I am.
Man,
It's true.
This is great. So we did a live episode in front of a studio audience back a couple months ago.
A couple months ago, yeah, not long.
That was interesting.
It was.
It was a lot of fun. And so here we are. Believe it or not, folks, they've shown up again. We do have a few audience members that have joined us here, but we are at Lads to Leaders, which is a convention. And that's training young people and things such as song leading and speech and debate and how to lead worship, that sort of stuff.
And I guess for those that aren't familiar, it's worth mentioning the full name is Lads to Leaders / Leaderettes.
Oh.
So it's not only for the lads, but it's for training young women as well.
Would that be the lasses? The lads and the lasses?
The lads and the lasses to the leaders and leaderettes.
Yes.
You trying to make me look bad?
No, I would never do that.
Okay, all right. We only pick on Alan. He's not here. We can do that. He should have been here.
You can pick on me. I'm an easy target.
But Robert, before we get into that topic too much, I do want to ask you a little bit about the Light Network.
Okay.
Because that's something that we have in common. You kind of like syndicate soul training,
Yes.
of course.
Yeah.
And so if you can talk about the Light Network, what platforms it's on, what's maybe some of the other popular podcasts.
Oh, sure.
Other popular podcasts.
The other popular. Well, nothing beats the pinnacle of soul training, of course. But
right.
So as I mentioned, we started this in 2013, and since that time, we've produced over 3,000 podcast episodes, which is kind of crazy. That's not all me personally, but anyway, I've had some part in it, which has really been cool. We had like 9 shows with which we began all of this, and of that, Preachers in Training and Under the Juniper Tree continue. So, I mean, that's been now, 12 years that we've been doing those shows, which is a lot of fun. Wow. I get to host Preachers in Training. I also get to do Today with Jesus with Dan Winkler, which is great. Mm-hmm. And also 4 Preachers in a Podcast with Chance Hicks and Brad McNutt and the Dr. Hiram Kemp. So we have a great time with that. But in addition to that, we have the Hey Joe Show with Joe and Aaron Wells, Straight Talk for Teens. I'm trying to think, what else? Inside the Scholar's Study, if you're looking for a scholarly academic kind of flair, with Dr. Ed Gallagher from Heritage Christian and Brad McNutt. Bountiful, The Heart of Money Management, which is a finance show. Stewardship, of our things. The list just goes on and on. We recently added the Ruffled Mango scripture writing podcast for our ladies, and then a staple for our women's programming has been Wifey Wednesdays.
I was about to say, you can't forget that one.
No, which my wife Emily has hosted for the better part of 11, maybe 12 years.
Very good.
So that's really good, and consistently, Wifey has been the show to beat. It has always been the one that has all of the audience. I mean, people just love what is going on over there. So it's been really good.
That's cool.
I call it a cult. It's like it's a whole following, But
what
anyway.
a diverse and high quality lineup.
Well, that's what we're shooting for. The goal is to try and present a diverse group of podcasts that, taken together, I mean, not everybody can listen to everything, but when taken together, you kind of get a holistic view to Christian living. We try and be as high quality in terms of the audio production as we can be, and we try and be as biblically balanced as we can be, because we want to glorify God in what we do. And that's why when you guys said, hey, we might be interested in partnering together, I thought, these guys, they fit the TLN mold. That's really good. What we're trying to go for, the conversational, light, we can be real people, we can laugh, we can also talk about important things and do that in a way that honors God and that I think meets people where they are. That's what we're trying to do.
And what ways can folks find these podcasts?
Oh, yeah. Well, our website is at thelightnetwork.tv. Don't forget the THE, thelightnetwork.tv. And then if you search for The Light Network in any of your favorite podcast app, Spotify, Apple Podcasts are probably the big ones, but you can go pretty much anywhere. You'll find a master feed, which is like the one-stop shop for everything. So soul training's in there and things like that. Or you can search for any of the individual podcasts, which are all listed on that website, thelightnetwork.tv. And we have a YouTube channel as well. Not all of our shows are video, like you guys are audio only, and that's kind of the bread and butter. We focus more on audio than we do on video, but we're dabbling in it, and several of our shows have added video as well, and so our YouTube channel is found at The Light Network. So, yeah.
So not to be confused with the Heavy Network or the Dark Network.
Or the Dark Network,
yeah,
that's correct.
Light only.
Light only,
yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. I appreciate that, Robert. Now
we used to get inquiries about a TV channel that I guess was called Light Network TV. And I had actually a standard message that if I typed a certain keyboard combination, it would paste that email in. That's how many of these we got. If you're looking for this TV network, you've come to the wrong place. And we also used to get emails about light fixtures, things like that. So, interior lighting.
Well, it makes sense.
We don't do any of that.
That's an honest mistake.
It is. It is. Yeah.
And I mean, you're a bright guy, so
Thank you. I try to be.
Daniel.
And I make up for it by having 3 bright lights, which are right in front of us. So
Yeah.
that's.
All right.
It makes me feel like Paul on the road to Damascus.
Oh, yeah.
Staring at these lights.
What do you want me to do? I can't
Who art thou, Lord?
Yeah.
So I want to jump to the topic of the day. I appreciate that about the Light Network.
Somebody should and must.
So that's my role.
Oh, good. Thank you.
I'm the producer of Soul Training, which means I am the wrangler of Soul
Yes,
Training.
the cat herder.
Yeah,
That's right.
It's
Good.
difficult at times.
It can be. So we're at Last of Leaders, and we're talking about the importance of training young people. So I've just written a couple of questions because this is a 30-minute program, give or take a few. The youth don't always understand. You just met my 8-year-old son, Lee. Lee doesn't know theology at this point. So he doesn't understand why bother training him. Why bother training our folks, our kids that young? If you can speak on that.
Why bother?
Yeah, what's the point? He doesn't understand it anyhow.
What's the point? Boy, putting it on an 8-year-old level is kind of hard. I remember when I was young, you think, man, these old guys that are up here leading the prayers and leading the singing and doing the preaching, they're going to be around forever. And then maybe, I don't know, teenager, depending on maybe your experience in life, you start realizing, no, they're not going to be around forever. You start realizing that the people you've taken for granted and who have poured into you are actually people who one day you're going to have to take up their mantle and keep the line going, keep the succession going. And that's what I love about Lads to Leaders, is because that's what's happening. That's not the only way to do it, but boy, is it an effective way to do it. And where else can you go where you're going to see several thousand people all together, depending on where you are, which convention you attend in the country. But here, 10,000 people. This is a record-breaking year. I happen to know that because I interviewed the convention directors a little earlier today. 98% of the Opryland Hotel is occupied by Lads to Leaders participants
That's what I heard.
and their
Staggering.
parents. That's amazing. My kids, I have an 8-year-old as well, a little girl, and I have a 5-year-old little boy. I don't know that they understand the long-lasting legacy that they are sort of tapping into with these events right now. But what they do understand is this is fun. And the award ceremony tonight, that's just fun, and they scream their heads off, and you come out and you feel like you've been at a rock concert because you can't hear, but it's just fun. And what I love is they're learning really good, solid things while at the same time in a fun environment. And one day they're going to realize, no, they were equipping me with tools that I can now use. Yeah, it's a foundation. So I kind of like that. I guess I sort of I did a hybrid thing, and I went on location for a minute. But I'm just thinking our kids don't really get it right now, but Lads meets them where they are, equips them with some great tools, and then one day it's like, oh, that's why I did that.
I've seen it I've got another son that's 12, and we had him here very young.
Yeah.
And because of that, I feel like he's comfortable being in front of an audience now. Doesn't bother him at all.
Somebody said earlier, you get them up there before they're afraid.
That's right.
Yeah.
They don't know what nervousness is.
That's right. Yeah.
They don't know they're supposed to be afraid.
No, they don't even know. And boy, my son led a song his first year here in 2021. He was a tiny little baby child, and it was a ballroom full of people. I mean, it had to be 150 or 200 people, and he got up there and led Blue Skies and Rainbows, no big deal. And I thought, I'd be embarrassed to do that right now, but he did it. I mean,
That's another thing. We're talking about Lads to Leaders right now.
Sorry, I derailed us once again, but yeah.
I'm wrangling.
We weren't, but we are now.
It's okay.
Thank you, Joe.
It's so cool that there's so many Christians here. If this has got to be like the safest place on earth. But there's so many Christians here, and everybody is rooting for everyone else.
Yes.
And so whenever Lee, my 8-year-old, gets up there, everyone is singing out whenever he did a song earlier today. They were singing out, encouraging him, encouraging me as his father.
Yes.
And so we do that at church all the time, but these are people we don't know.
Right.
It's just something special about it. I think you're right.
It really is. And a lot of these kids may be coming from locations and congregations and areas where maybe there's not a lot of other Christians in their life. that are peers. And so they can come to this, and like you said, there's 10,000 other Christians here. That can remind them that I'm not alone.
Yeah.
This is not a weird, unusual faith that I have. There's a lot of people that are, on this same path. Yeah, and that's really encouraging.
Yeah, it's really great.
I mean, this might be the largest gathering of Christians in the U.S. on Easter weekend.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good point.
So for the people out there listening,
dear listeners,
there's several different conventions of Lads to Leaders. I don't know what the website is. Google it. You guys know how to Google it. Google it, look it up, find one close to you, and I encourage your congregation to get involved.
Yeah.
There's nothing negative going to come from it. It's only positives.
Yeah, that's right. And I love, even though there is, and some people are like, I don't know about the competition aspect of it. I think that without that, we might not push ourselves to be the very best we could be.
I think you're right.
And in addition to that, I default back to what you said a minute ago. I mean, you've got the Madison Church of Christ from Madison, Alabama. I think they brought like 400 people. That's not an exaggeration.
Wow.
Here, and those people are rooting for other churches, just like maybe whatever the smallest group here. I met a group of 3 people yesterday who are here, and they're just scoping out Lads to see what it's all about because they may start it soon at their congregation, and everybody's cheering on everybody else.
Sure.
And what this is, I mean, the word tool keeps coming to mind. This is a means by which we can fulfill what Paul says to Timothy and to Titus. The older ought to teach the younger. And this is a great way. Buzzwords right now in ministry, intergenerational ministry. Everybody wants to figure out how to do that. Lads to Leaders has it built right in. And so this solves a lot of problems, too, that I think we're feeling in the church these days. So it's a win-win.
That's right. And it's completely customizable as to how you do it in your congregation.
You don't have to do everything.
You don't have to do everything. And if you're not into the competition, that's totally okay. There are loads of things you can do that are non-competitive. You can even do the things that are competitive and ask not to be judged. So
yes, that's right.
It's whatever you want to do. The main thing is that we're training these young people to do things before they're afraid to do them, like we were talking about earlier.
Yes. Yeah, and to do them with excellence.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm missing Alan's pin clicks.
I don't even have a pin.
Actually, don't do that. Because I spend half of my time editing pin clicks out. That's what. So I'm gonna keep messing with him while he's not here. He's gonna listen to this episode and be like, "What?"
Right.
You just can't ever miss an episode.
So we've pushed Lads to Leaders, and rightfully so. It's good. It's a good thing. Now I don't know if you know this, Robert. We're international.
Oh, of course.
To some extent.
There are international Lads to Leaders groups as well.
Are there?
Yeah, I know there's some in India. Anyway, sorry.
Well, we had hypothesized it was really just Daniel traveling around the planet, listening to an episode here and there.
Yes.
But so for folks that can't get to a convention, what can those congregations do to be training their young people?
Yeah. So you're asking for unconventional means?
Yeah, I suppose I am.
Where's my sound effects? That's great.
Wow.
I didn't grow up doing Lads to Leaders.
I didn't either.
I didn't come to a convention until 2021, and that was the first post-COVID convention. And my wife, I know, my wife kept telling me, this is very atypical. It was like half the group. So instead of close to 10,000, it was like close to 5.
She grew up with it.
Oh yeah, she grew up with it, and so she was like, "No, this isn't real Lads. Like, don't get used to all this elbow room you have in everywhere." I had a preacher, Paul Sain is his name, and Paul and I worked together when I preached in Pulaski for 7 years. But I grew up there as well, and Paul was able to identify in us our talents. And he just started a training class for kids. And we didn't really have a title for it. We just called it the 5:30 class because it met at 5:30 on Sundays. Okay, we worshiped at 6. We met at 5:30. He had us memorizing verses of Scripture. He had us giving speeches to the boys would, giving little devos. It wasn't as structured as Lads to Leaders is by any means. In fact, sometimes, Paul wrote this great little book called Ready Reference for Growing Christians, and it's just outlines of biblical topics, and he's got 100 of them, or 120 based on which edition you get. And so there's one in there called God's Plan to Save Man. And he gave us each one of the little pocket ready references, and he handed it to us and said, okay, you're going to take point number 1, which says God has done his part. And then you, the next kid, you're going to take Christ has done his part. And you're going to take man must do his part in obeying the gospel. And then you're going to take hear, believe, repent, confess, be baptized. And we just practiced bridging, transitioning, one point to the next, just standing up and speaking with people. And once we got that down in a semi-polished way, he would orchestrate it such that we could do that before the church, maybe before or after a worship service or something like that. I didn't know that he was training me. It was just what we did. We could go up to any of our elders and say our memory verse. And what I didn't realize was he was walking us through the verses of the plan of salvation, and then he walked us through verses relative to worship, corporate worship. I know those now. I learned them in 3rd grade or whatever.
He was equipping you.
He was equipping me, and we didn't even know. So that wasn't an organized thing, and I asked him later, I said, how did you come up with all? He said, I'm just making it up week to week. I'd see how y'all would respond to something, and then we would go from there. That meant so much to me. And I'm thinking
that's your intergenerational.
That's it. Yeah. And he would get, others to come and speak to us if they could, members of the congregation. Sometimes we would formulate as a group and go to the nursing home and sing, and one of us would lead those songs. It wasn't 10,000 people at the Opryland Hotel. It was within our congregation, and it was our local preacher taking some initiative. And I'm just thinking anybody, local preacher, a deacon, just an interested dad, could take that and could build something from that. I guess there were times when there were maybe just 5 or 8 of us. There were other times there may have been 20 or 25, depending on how the class met and what all we did. But that meant a lot.
I really like that. Because we have Sunday school, we have Wednesday night class, but those are so curriculum focused, where if you've got something like what Brother Sane was doing, he can ebb and flow with what needs to be taught.
Right.
And I like that.
And it was 20 minutes on a Sunday night. We just met year round, 20 minutes.
Made a difference to you.
Made a huge difference to me. Yeah.
Daniel, you've been everywhere. Robert, I don't know if you know this. Daniel's like Johnny Cash. He has been everywhere.
He's been everywhere.
Literally. And I guess you've preached have you preached every habitable continent?
Habitable.
I have gone to every habitable continent for the cause of Christ. I didn't get to preach in China, but
you can go back.
There's still time.
Well, there's still time. And, there's scientists in Antarctica, right, that need the gospel. That's on my list. I'm going to go down there.
I wonder if we were to, message one of them, if we could get a ping from Antarctica to add to our soul trading list.
That'd be cool.
That would be literally cool.
Oh, yes. Yeah. It'd be ice cold.
It would be ice cold.
Yeah.
But have you seen anything, internationally that they do training their young people that maybe we could bring back to the U.S.?
That's a great question. Honestly, from my own personal experience, what I've seen has been kind of the opposite problem. There've been places I've gone in Tanzania, for example, and I'm painting with a broad brush here. I have some Tanzanian friends that listen to this. I know we're training young people in Tanzania, but I have been to congregations where it literally has not occurred to them that they're supposed to be teaching the Bible to the children.
Oh, okay.
That it just, I don't know if nobody told them that or it sort of seems like a no-brainer to me, but we have a large focus culturally on educating children, training children, doing things for children that not every culture has.
Yeah,
so that is something that that we have to work with some of the churches that we encounter. But no, nothing just leapt to my mind. I know things are happening that are great.
Well, there's an opportunity there, Daniel. Maybe we'll create something.
Yes.
There's an opportunity.
I've been wanting for years to take Latch Leaders to Tanzania and have talked to a couple of people about it. I think it's going to happen one day, but it's a matter of making it happen.
That would be cool.
That would be wonderful.
Very cool.
Yeah.
What about, we're talking about young people, training our young people. I don't know if there is a pattern. There's method to my madness. I started big, lads to leaders. I've gone down to congregational size, now in the home. Yeah. What can parents what can I do? I got a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old. How can parents of younger children train their children up in the ways of the Lord?
Realizing that we don't have to wait around in the congregation to come up with a ministry or to lead the charge with something, I think is really important. I know so many great families who will use, maybe if they have a family devotional time or something in the evenings, they'll use that as an opportunity to train their, young boys and even to encourage their young ladies in different ways and doing a variety of things. I've heard, just to broaden it back up for a minute with the Lads to Leaders thing, there have been some families who have utilized, I think there's an event called Teach Me to Pray. It's not a competitive event, but, you're not going to judge each other on how you prayed. But based on, I don't know. Anyway, I'm not going to go down that rabbit trail.
But you didn't do it in Jesus' name.
I know, exactly. Yeah, I'm thinking model prayer,
Exactly.
Nothing about the daily bread. Marks off. They've used that because they've realized, wow, I just kind of took for granted, that my kids know how to pray, themselves. I mean, we pray together, but I'm the one leading the prayer, and this is helping to equip them to do that. But yeah, I think just realizing that we do have that responsibility is probably the best place to start. I'm not sure that it's best to be dogmatic about this, right? I mean, every family needs to accommodate to the needs and maybe even the seasons of the family. I know a lot of our brothers and sisters at Henderson right now, they're right in the middle of baseball and softball season. And we were just talking to some in the food room a little earlier. They had a baseball game at 8 o'clock last night.
Oh, my.
And they left Henderson after the game, and then they got here at 1-something in the morning this morning, and then now they're doing Lads to Leaders. But look at what that statement is.
Their kids know it's important.
They know what's important.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that they can't do some of the fun stuff, too. Here's a family that's saying, we'll make some sacrifices. We'll stay up late. I'll drive the car to Nashville into the wee hours of the morning so that you can participate in both of these things. And I guess realizing that one is obviously more important than the other. To realize that there are a lot of ways that we can accomplish this, but to encourage our kiddos to do this, I think we can aid this by speaking well of the people who are leading in public, and that will help us to foster a heart to lead in our private homes, and then later in public, Lord willing, into the future. I think that could be a really good thing.
So you're implying that if for Sunday afternoon dinner we have roast preacher, that's going to discourage the kids from wanting to preach?
Yes. I mean, what?
Roast preacher.
I got a roast preacher. Yeah. He's been in the crock pot, and now we're ready for him. No, honestly, I think about that. I mean, here we are in this era of, arguably a preacher shortage, right? Depends on where you are and where you're coming from. But people seem to be concerned, and I know there are a lot of churches that are having trouble finding a man who can stand in the pulpit. Well, what can we do in the home to try and encourage preaching, if not preachers themselves? Maybe it starts at the lunch table on Sunday afternoon.
So,
spoken as a preacher and therefore totally unbiased comment.
Exactly.
Come on.
Yes. I mean, we're two preachers. Actually, if Alan's here, there's three preachers. I'm the only one.
Wow.
That's not.
Okay.
But I was thinking, what I've tried to do, in which I'm not perfect, but what I've tried to do is just keep the name.
Well, that's not what I heard.
Depends on who you talk to. Did I tell you that earlier? It depends on who you talk to. But I just try to keep the name of Jesus and God nearby.
Love that.
And so if there's something there, I explain things through a biblical worldview to them. If Lee asked me, Daddy, what does this mean? I said, well, it means this. Or if they're coming up with something in school, so you'll be taught this because those folks have a different view of things. Here's what the Bible says. So I just tried to keep it handy, nearby.
Yeah.
And, obviously we're trying to live our lives as Christians, and hopefully they see that. We don't watch the movies and that we shouldn't be, and the shows we shouldn't be, and that things. And hopefully, so this is my first try with parenting. Yeah. I don't have, you have one daughter that's older than the others.
Yes.
And so you're on phase 2.
Wow. Right. I love that.
And so you had a test run, and she turned out pretty good.
Yeah.
I have no test run. This is it for me.
This is it.
As kids, we don't realize that. Our parents are just making this up as they go.
They're learning how to be parents as they go.
Correct.
I really love how you phrased that a second ago. You keep the name of Jesus nearby.
Yep.
I'm going to be using that now.
Oh, great. I'll charge you. That's fine. We'll settle up later.
No royalties. I came up with that now.
That's now yours.
That's right.
fine.
Copyright Daniel Gaines, the
That's
traveling
fine.
preacher.
Well, those are the questions that I had. You guys are really chuckling it up over here.
I'm sorry, I'm way too comfortable on soul training
Well,
for this to be my first time. Like
Yeah.
Well,
I
you're
shouldn't.
a natural.
Yeah,
No.
that's right.
And you've been doing this a long time today. And
I started at 9 a.m. and it's 5:30. This is great.
get a little silly when we're tired, right?
Yeah, we do.
That's true.
Yeah.
So, do you have anything else you feel like we need to discuss? Because I didn't. So here we are. Without Alan here, I forgot to set the timer.
Oh.
Yeah, I did
But
too.
I got to be thinking we're probably pretty close.
Yeah, yeah.
to
You're right
about
there.
time.
You're right there.
And so if there's anything else we need to talk about, can we roast Alan? Alan's not here. He's not here to defend
I
himself.
don't even know Alan that
That's
well. I
true,
don't know if
yeah.
I can roast
No,
him.
you know Alan.
Yeah, I know him well enough.
I love Alan. I
Quit
love
with the
him so
pen,
much.
okay? Quit with it. What are you doing?
Listen,
No, I'm
man,
just kidding.
you got no idea. Alan's got these pins. Have you ever heard of he's going to roast me for saying it. You ever heard of a Mont Blanc pen?
Oh, I have. I've heard of that.
He's got one.
Oh,
It's like his.
I'm not fancy enough to have owned one. I just heard of it.
He won't let you touch it.
But you don't click the Mont Blancs, do you?
No.
Okay.
No.
But he
They're fancy
refers to
twisty
them
stuff.
as his instruments, and he always keeps like 4 or 5.
Instruments.
And if you ask, "Hey, Alan, can I borrow a pen?" He gives you like the Bic. You're not
Oh,
touching
of
one of
course.
his good pens.
Yeah, all right.
He's that type of
I
Dave.
picked
But
this up
he's
at
a
the Dollar
connoisseur.
General.
Like we had one episode. Was it on the episode or was it after?
It was our last episode, the complacency and evangelism episode. I think that we just did,
Really?
where
Are
he
you sure?
described the fuselage and all that.
Yeah.
Fuselage.
Yes.
Sounds
it's
like
very-
an aircraft.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
it probably
Anyway.
cost as much as an aircraft.
Yeah.
Anyhow, well, I don't have anything else. Daniel, do you have anything? Robert, if you have anything.
No, it was an honor to be with you today, and
man.
I appreciate the down to earth way that we're approaching this. You know, leaders come from among us; they come from our homes, and we need to be intentional about stewarding our young people, shooting the arrows, if to borrow from Psalm 127, in the direction of we need people who are willing to step up and to use their talents and skills and steward those in a way for the Lord, whether that looks like within the walls of a church building or perhaps especially anywhere else. It occurs to me that most of us spend most of our time outside of a church building, and therefore we probably need to be equipped to use those things for the Lord, and that'll start in our homes. So, yeah.
I think a whole lot of it is just preparing our children as well as ourselves to kind of be in the path of God's plan, so that
wow.
whenever that opportunity comes up, whenever our for such a time as this moment comes up,
That's good.
we're ready to be used by God, not preparing. I mean, and not waiting until then to get ready.
Oh, I love that.
I think what you're talking about, we had with, Matt Cook.
Oh,
We had Matt Cook, and Matt Cook said something on the show, like 2 years ago, that has always stuck with me, is we need to be intentional.
intentional.
You're not going to accidentally raise up your children in the Lord, more than likely.
That's right.
But if you have the attitude of, this is my goal, this is how I want my children to be raised,
Yeah.
you're going to do the right thing.
Yeah. And don't you love that in the church? I've already said my last thing, but don't you love that in the church you get also a village of people who can help you do
Yes.
that, and they get to learn from people older and younger than you as their parent, and they get to experience the variety of skill sets that those people have that I don't have, and I don't know, you realize why the Lord in his wisdom chose for us to exist in a community of people that have the same goals that we do, and therefore that intentionality as well. I love that.
That's right. Well, thank you, Robert, for being
Thank
our
you,
guest
guys.
today. So glad to have you on Soul
It has
Training.
really been an honor. Appreciate it.
We want to thank our elders at the South Green Street Church of Christ for making Soul Training possible. We want to thank our new friends at the Light Network, the whole family of podcasts. Go and check those out when you're not listening to Soul Training. And most of all, we want to thank you, dear listener, for letting us be a part of your spiritual diet and your spiritual conversation. We hope that this has been enjoyable and edifying for you, and hope that you would give us a good rating and recommend us to your friends as well, and help them to find Soul Training also. So until next time, on behalf of Alan and Joe and Robert, I'm Daniel. Keep Soul Training.